Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. And we'll continue with what we're doing last lesson. So you remember what we talked about last lesson? We talked about the two types. Oops, the thing not going up. The two types of extreme evil karma for falling into the Avinci hell. So it's described in the sutra. So we go through the first one, the 11 kinds of extremely severe negative karma. And we talk about the 5 grave offenses, and then the 4 fundamental transgressions. And then today we will continue with the other 2 within the 11th evil karma, the severe negative karma. Okay. Okay. So defaming the true Dharma and doubting the triple gem. In addition, this these offenses, although seemingly minor, are actually extremely serious. Okay, defaming the true Dharma. If a non-Buddhist defames the true Dharma, their offense is not considered severe because they criticize out of ignorance, speaking merely nonsense. It is similar to a snake swallowing a frog or a cat catching a mouse, action that, though harmful, are not regarded as serious offenses. However, for monastic disciples who study and practice the Buddha Dharma, if they deliberately undermine the true Dharma from within, the offense is extremely grave. Such behavior is comparable to a parasite within a lion's body, consuming the lion itself. Therefore, as followers and practitioners of Buddhism, we must never defame the Buddha Dharma. Generally speaking, neither lay nor monastic practitioners intentionally harbor thoughts of defaming the Buddha Dharma. Yet, they may advertently commit such an offense without even realizing it. Within the Buddha Dharma, there are 3 vehicles: the Sravakayana, the Pratyeka Buddhayana, and the Bodhisattvayana, which is the Mahayana. If a practitioner of the Sravakayana praises their own path while asserting that the Mahayana teachings are not taught by the Buddha, this constitutes defaming the true Dharma. So conversely, if a practitioner of the Mahayana criticizes the Sravakayana, arguing that people should not practice it, this also amounts to defaming the true Dharma. Furthermore, if someone exclusively emphasizes training in moral discipline while neglecting meditative concentration and wisdom, or focuses solely on meditative concentration while disregarding moral discipline and wisdom, or emphasizes wisdom to the exclusion of moral discipline and meditative concentration. Such biased approaches, especially when encouraging others to abandon the other trainings, also constitutes defaming the true Dharma. So in the other words, if someone exclusively studies and cultivates only one Dharma practice while disparaging the other ones, believing that they are useless and should not be cultivated, this is also a form of defaming the true Dharma. If cultivating only one Dharma practice were sufficient, why should the Buddha have taught 84,000 Dharma practices? To strongly favor one practice while belittling others will cause sentient beings to develop distorted views, leading them astray and blinding them to the true Dharma. Therefore, such bias constitutes a grave offense, resulting in rebirth in the Avinci hell. Okay, so doubting the triple gem. This is the other one. The triple gem, you all know, the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, is the refuge for all Buddhist disciples, whether one is a monastic or a lay practitioner. If they engage in any of the following behaviors after taking refuge in the triple gem and accepted the pure precepts, that would be incompatible with the Buddha Dharma and in the captive of doubt and disbelief in the triple gem. So having faith in non-Buddhist traditions, spirits, and deities, and regarding them as equal or superior to the Buddha, reading non-Buddhist texts and praising them as superior to the Buddhist canon, or take refuge in heretical groups and losing faith in the Buddhist monastic community, such behaviors reveal doubts and lack of faith in the Triple Gem. And an example can be seen in those who cannot distinguish between gods and Buddhas. Even after taking refuge in the Triple Gem, they advocate ignorance views such as the unity of 3 religions or the merging of 5 religions, believing that all religions simply teach people to do good and thus we can equally take refuge in them. Such actions constitute it's wrong, will constitute wrong thinking. So such a failure to clearly distinguish them between right and wrong. So they failure to do that. They cannot know what is right and wrong, and between gods and Buddhas, and constitute a grave fault of uninterpreted severely arising from doubt towards the Triple Gem. So acts such as killing and stealing do not necessarily lead to the rebirth in hell. However, committing even one of the 11th grave offenses mentioned above will bring us to the results of rebirth in the Avinci hell. So, okay, the next one, the view of 10 evil faults. So this is the other category in the 10 unwholesome wills. It is said in the Kṣitigarbha Sutra, if one commits any or all of the 10 unwholesome wills, or previously cultivated wholesome roots will be completely destroyed. At the end of one's life, one will invariably be reborn in the Avinci hell. Here, the wheel signifies destruction, especially referring to the power of eradicate all accumulated wholesome merits and victorious roots. Hence, these actions are termed unwholesome views. In essence, the 10 unwholesome views correspond to the 10 types of unwholesome deeds. Committing even one of these deeds or all 10 completely destroy all the merits one has accumulated through previous practices. This destructive potency is precisely why they are called the 10 unwholesome views. So the 10 unwholesome views are categorized into 7 groups. The first, defaming arana monastics. The second, defaming other Buddhist vehicles, embodying free and wholesome deeds. The third, harming monastics out of hatred, embodying two unwholesome deeds. And the fourth, wrongly transferring belongings from the pure monastics to monastics who have violated the precepts. And the fifth, harming Dharma teachers. And sixth, misappropriating property belonging to the Sangha. And seventh, destroying monasteries and persecuting monastics. So the first one, defaming Aranya monastics. Aranya is a Sanskrit word, aranlo, means a secluded place, a quiet location, free from the disturbance. Monastics who practice pure conduct in such tranquil environments are called Aranya Bhikkhus, the forest monks. So this concept is akin to what is described in Chinese as dwelling in a solitary retreat within a simple hut. The Buddha taught that there are three kinds of monastics. The first type focuses on meditation, diligently cultivating tranquility, the samatha, and insight, vipassana, earnestly striving to achieve the goal of eliminating delusions and attaining sagehood. The second type emphasizes scriptural study, including reading, reciting, and examining Buddhist texts, particularly the Buddhist canon, the Tripitaka. The third type dedicates themselves to serving the Sangha by engaging in producing activities, such as constructing monasteries to accommodate monastics, managing monastery affairs, and welcoming guests. So out of these three types of practice, meditation is the best. Bhikkhus who practice meditation often live in Aranyaka, so focusing on gaining concentration and wisdom in order to end the cycle of life and death and achieve liberation. Those bhikkhus who are devoted to serving the Sangha community are performing victorious and meritorious deeds. But this is not the fundamental duty of a monastic. Studying and researching the Buddha Dharma should be to advance one's practice. Engaging only in superficial meanings of words in Buddhist theory is not the ideal of a monastic. Therefore, Aranyaka bhikkhus who practice diligently meditative contemplation should receive the highest offerings under the monastic code. During the time of Buddha, everyone in the Sangha was expected to follow the communal schedule. So like they have a schedule and they have to all go and attend and do everything together. However, monastics who sincerely cultivated tranquility and insights were permitted temporary exemption for the group routine when their practice reached a critical stage. The defaming and Aranya monastic is considered one of the 10 unwholesome wills. This is because practitioners genuinely seeking liberation from cyclic existence should not only be free from obstruction, but also supported in their spiritual endeavors. Thus, defaming and hindering such practitioners is equivalent to undermining the most essential goal of Buddha's practice. And second one, defaming other vehicles. So the Buddha Dharma comprises three vehicles. The Shravaka vehicles, Shravakayana, the Prataka Buddha vehicle, Prataka Buddha Yana, and the Bodhisattva vehicle, the Mahayana. So if a practitioner of one vehicle disparages the other vehicles, This conduct constitutes defamation of the righteous Dharma, which include a Shravaka practitioner criticizing the Pratika Buddha or Bodhisattva vehicles, or a Pratika Buddha practitioner criticizing the Shravaka or Bodhisattva's vehicles, and a Bodhisattva's practitioner criticizing the Pratika Buddha or Shravaka vehicles. Each of these three cases of disparagement is considered one of the 10 unwholesome wills. So the third one, anger and hatred towards monastics. There are two types of hatred towards bhikkhus. The first type is angry towards all bhikkhus who engage in good practices and conducts. This anger can manifest as abuse, beatings, or use of methods to restrict their freedom, as well as persecution in all kinds of ways. Some bad bhikkhus draw in local evil forces to secure abbots or management positions in the Sangha, using all sorts of methods to destroy and harm victorious bhikkhus in order to gain possessions. Another type is to look down, hate, and persecute a bhikkhu who broken the precepts, thinking that this bhikkhu is not a monastic and is not worthy of respect. Persecuting victorious bhikkhu is certainly an offense. So what is the problem with having hatred towards a bhikkhu who offends the precepts? They do not understand that even though these bhikkhus who broken the precepts, as long as he remains in the Sangha and continues to live as a monastic, then this hatred is still a bad karma. For example, Thailand is a Buddhist country. Not all the monastics are noble sages. If a bhikkhu breaks the law in a community, the police will not arrest him immediately because he is still wearing the robe and still a bhikkhu. So the police will follow the bhikkhu back to the monastery, report the incident to the abbot, and wait for the decisions from that Sangha group. Once the Sangha group has decided to revoke his monastic status and remove the robe, the police will then arrest him. So this demonstrates respect for the bhikkhu and show no hatred towards the bhikkhu who had broken the law. Therefore, if one use unlawful ways against a bhikkhu who has broken the precepts, this is also a bad will. Okay. Transferring belongings of a pure monastic to an offending monastic. So some bad bhikkhus can enlist the help of evil forces. These people are also generally known as the protector of the temple. They help the bad bhikkhu fight over the temple's property, which seems to protect the monastic members, but in fact is helping the bhikkhu who have broken the precepts to commit sins. Okay, the fifth, harming a Dharma teacher. So harming a Dharma teacher who preaches and propagates Dharma would not happen in modern China nowadays. Well, this article written by Venerable Yin-Shun, so he's talking about China. However, in the past, when local culture was not yet open, monastics who preached the Dharma may have been attacked. For example, Venerable Di Xian in China, Di Xian Fashi, had a disciple, Venerable Tianxing, who traveled to a place like Guangyang, a place called Guangyang, to preach Dharma and give talks in a small temple at the foot of a Qingling mountain in China. So this Venerable Tianxing, gave great Dharma teaching, attracting a large audience, which led to jealousy among some of the malicious people. So these people colluded with the government officers and falsely accusing the Venerable Tianxing of being a vagrant and expelling him from the area. This is an example of harming a Dharma teacher. Okay. 36. Embezzle properties of monastics. Stealing the property of monastic members is also a serious offense, resulting in rebirth in the Avinci hell. Since the end of Qing dynasty, the property belonging to the Chinese temple has been mistakenly considered public property and seized by force and fraud. Some temples' property was taken on the pretext of establishing schools. Others thought that the space inside a temple was vacant, so they took it by force. And some of these people do not actually use the property to run a school or anything else, but simply just use the excuse of public services to line their own pockets. So every monastery serves a spiritual center for the people, and therefore must remain pure, dignified, and orderly. And any reasonably respectable country respects religious freedom and refrains from mistreating religious properties. For example, churches in Europe and America, or large temple in Japan, may appear empty on ordinary days, but there are times when even such spaces prove insufficient. These places were important spiritual centers that inspire people to cultivate virtues and self-improvements. To regard them as superfluous or the arbitrarily seize and repurpose them constitute one of the 10 unwholesome wills. If someone continuously creates such unwholesome karma, how can they possibly accept to experience favorable outcomes? So the 7th, destroying Buddhist monastery and persecuting monastics. If someone destroys monasteries or persecutes members of the Sangha as in the past, like, for example, the Communist Party or in some sort of government, when they do something like that, this is the gravest form of the unwholesome karma. Committing any one of these 7 categories of the 10 unwholesome wills results in extremely grave consequences. Such actions guarantee rebirth in the Avinci hell. So to sum up, the 11 kinds of evil karma and the 10 unwholesome wills are seeds that lead to the rebirth in hell realm. No sensible person would ever wish to be reborn in the Avinci hell. So to avoid such rebirth, one must clearly understand the causes and conditions that lead to it. By reframing from committing any of these unwholesome deeds, one will not experience negative karmic retribution and will thus avoid rebirth in the Avinci hell. Respect and do not censure monastics. Do not recklessly apply to the censure and punishments of criminal laws to the monastics. So lay Buddhists should respect members of the Sangha and must not disparage them. As stated in the fascicle, should I move this? Okay. In the fascicle 3 of the Dashachakra Kṣitigarbha Sutra, and if any sentient beings renounces worldly life under the guidance of my Dharma, shaving off their heads and donning monastic robes, then whether they strictly uphold monastic precepts, violate them, or even have no precepts at all, heavenly beings, humans, asuras, and all other beings should never even consider abusing them, is abusing these monastics or subjecting them to punishment under secular criminal laws, much less employing unlawful methods to harm them. So for monastics, anyone who renounces worldly life under the guidance of the Buddha Dharma, shave their head, and dons monastic robes is considered a member of the monastic Sangha. Yet, among monastics, there are various categories. Those who strictly uphold the precepts, those who violate the precepts, and those who have no precepts at all. So what does it mean to have no precepts? It refers to individuals who outwardly appear as monastic, but lack of opportunity to formally receive precepts, reside in places where the Buddha Dharma has declined, and thus lack of opportunity to formally receive precepts. Such people merely put on monastic robes without formal permission and superficially resemble members of the Sangha. So according to the legitimate laws of the country, each crime warrants a corresponding punishment. However, in the case of monastics, whether they uphold precepts, violate precepts, or have no precepts, even if they commit criminal offenses, they should not be subjected to beating, imprisonment, or execution unless their monastic status have been formally revoked. If this restraint applies even under a country's proper legal system, how much more should one refrain from imposing unjust and unlawful punishments? So in other words, as long as someone outwardly maintains the appearance of a monastic and belongs to a Sangha community, it is never appropriate to apply secular or unlawful punishment directly against them. In Buddhism, there is a monastic code to address these matters. As mentioned earlier regarding monastics in Thailand, if a monastic commits a crime, the Sangha community should first formally disrobe and expel the individual from the Sangha, after which secular law may appropriately be applied. Thus, out of respect for the Triple Gem, one should not recklessly impose secular punishments on monastics without first following the proper disciplinary procedures of the Sangha. Okay, so now we have finished with all these faults and bad deeds, and I'm going to share with you a story from the Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva. It's also from the sutra. So listen carefully. This is a different story compared with the one yesterday. Yeah. Okay. So it's called it is a woman named Bright Eyes. Bright Eyes embodies the virtues of filial piety and compassion. Limitless eons ago, a Buddha named Pure Lotus Eyes, thus come one, was in the world. His lifespan was 40 eons. At that time, an arahat who had accumulated blessings was alming food on the street. He came across a woman named Bright Eyes who looked distressed and unhappy. So Bright Eyes, the woman, sincerely offered the arahat a meal. The arahat asked her, "What's on your mind? Maybe I can help you." Bright Eyes replied, "As my late mother did not believe in karma and had committed evil deeds during her lifetime, I was worried that she would fall into the evil paths. So I performed meritorious deeds on the anniversary of her death. However, I still miss my mother very much and wonder where she is now." The Arahat knew her deep love for her mother and decided to help her. So he went into his deep meditation and discovered that her mother was suffering a lot in hell. So he asked the girl, "What is your mother? What has your mother done during her lifetime, so that she is now suffering in hell?" Bright Eyes replied, "My mother was fond of eating seafood, such as fish, turtles, and other sea creatures, and especially their eggs. She especially liked to fry or broil fish or turtle eggs, and she could eat hundreds of fish eggs in one bite. And therefore, I am afraid that during her lifetime, tens of thousands of fish eggs, fishes, turtle were killed for her consumption. Oh, venerable one, please be compassionate and tell me, how can I save my mother?" After the Arahat hearing what she said, he had pity on Bright Eyes and and people of this world, he said, "People of this world have accumulated so much bad karma through their tongues. You can recite um, the holy name of the pure lotus eye, thus come one, and also make images of the Buddha in form of carving and paintings. So if you are able to do so, both you and your mother will be blessed with good results." So Bright Eyes heard this and quickly renounced the things she loved, she gave away. So she swiftly commissioned paintings, images of the thus come one. So to paint the Buddha's image, and then she recollected the Buddha and made offerings to him. She wept in grief as she beheld and bowed to the Buddha. And suddenly, towards the end of the night, she had a dream in which she saw the Buddha's body in dazzling gold color, large as Mount Sumeru and emitting great light. The Buddha said to Bright Eyes, "Your mother will soon be born into your household. As soon as the infant feels hungry and cold, the baby will explain the cause and effects of what had happened to you." So sometimes later, the maid in Bright Eye's house gave birth to a baby. And on the third day after the birth, the baby lowered his head and wept and told Bright Eyes, this woman, he said, "Oh, the karmic conditions we created during our lives results in retributions that we ourselves must undergo. I am your mother. Since being separated from you, I have fallen into the great hells and suffered immeasurably. It is only through your good deeds, that I have been able to free myself from the evil paths. However, I have committed so many sins that although I have been reborn as a human in this world, I am poor, lowly, and short-lived. I will die at the age of 13. And at the end of my life, I will fall into hell and suffer again." So when Bright Eyes heard those words, she knew without doubt that the baby was her mother. And choked and cried, she asked the servant's child, "Since you are my mother, you should know your past offenses. What unwholesome karma did you create that made you fall into the evil paths?" So the maid servant's son replied, I am undergoing retribution for two kinds of karma: killing sentient beings and slandering the Triple Gem. Had I not received the blessing from you, I could not be rescued from the hellish suffering. I would not have yet been released from the karma. So Bright Eye asked, "Oh, what happened in the hells when beings undergo retribution for their offenses?" And then this little child replied, "Oh, I can't bear to talk about it anymore. I can't describe how much I suffered from the pain of being tortured by fire and water and being stabbed by 1,000 knives. Even if I could live for 100,000 years, I would find it hard to talk all about it. So when Bright Eyes heard this, she wept bitterly and spoke into the air and saying, "May my mother be free from the suffering of hell forever. After being born at the age of 13, she will no longer suffer in the evil paths. All the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of 10 directions, please listen with compassion and sympathy, to the great vow I'm making for my mother. If my mother will never enter the three evil paths, will never be born into low stations, and will never again be female, then here, before the image of pure lotus eye thus come one, I vow that from this day onwards, throughout millions of billions of eons, I will respond to all beings who are suffering from their offenses in the hell or the three evil paths of any world. I vow to rescue them from the evil destinies of hells, hungry ghosts, animals, and similar conditions. Only after all beings with such retributions have become Buddhas will I myself achieve supreme enlightenment." So after making that vow, she heard from the air the pure lotus eye thus come one, say to her, "Bright Eyes, your deep compassion and sympathy will reach your mother through this mighty vow you made. My contemplation reveals that after 13 years, your mother will be completed her retribution and will be reborn as a Brahman, living for 100 years. And after that, she will be born in a land of no worries, where her lifespan will be uncountable eons. And eventually, she will attain Buddhahood and save countless beings as numerous as grains of sand in the Ganges. Okay. So Shakyamuni Buddha told Samadhi self-mastery king, "The Arahat who blessed Bright Eyes is now known as inexhaustible intention Bodhisattva. Bright Eyes' mother has become liberation Bodhisattva, and Bright Eyes herself is now the Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva." So the Bodhisattva has been extending his compassion and sympathy for countless eons, making as many vows as there are grains of sands in the Ganges, and all to rescue a vast number of sentient beings. So in this story, Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattva is portrayed as a devoted daughter whose mother committed unwholesome deeds. The mother ended up in hell because she killed a lot of animals and slandered the Triple Gem. And this serves as a reminder for us to be very careful in our actions throughout our lives. You might think of killing someone is impossible or difficult. Well, not just small animal. Like if you think about it, to be more careful. If you think about, oh, don't killing anyone, is it impossible or difficult? Maybe, it can be easily during the wartime, okay, during the war. Individuals involved in gangs have a greater chance of committing a murder. And people selling drugs also contribute to harming others. I have a friend who is a Buddhist, and she expressed her unhappiness to me because her family members and friends often slander the Triple Gem. And when they are at a restaurant, they make fun of her for practicing Buddhism and being a vegetarian and calling it stupid. So she feels stressed as a Buddhist when she hears these comments. And no matter what she tries to say, they dismiss her feelings. So many people are not careful with their words. They think it's okay to express disagreement without considering the impacts of their comments on others. Unfortunately, such slander ultimately harms themselves more than it affects those who they target. I advise my friend not to be sad and not to let their comments affect her deeply. She shouldn't feel obligated to follow them, as they lack wisdom and do not understand the Buddha Dharma or the law of cause and effects. It's possible to have friends while still holding true to her own beliefs without having to agree with or act like they do. So praying, offering, and prostrating to the Buddha can help us change our future. The mother of the bright eyes was reborn in hell. However, with the help of her daughter, she was able to be reborn as a human, but as a slave in her daughter's household with a short lifespan. Eventually, she will fall into the evil path once again. So the baby asked her daughter for help so she wouldn't go through such suffering. And the daughter made a significant vow in front of the Buddha and stating, I vow that from this day onwards, throughout millions and billions of eons, I will respond to all beings who are suffering for their offenses in the hells and the free evil paths of any world. I vow to rescue them from the evil destinies of hell, hungry ghosts, animals, and similar conditions. Only after all beings with such retribution have become Buddhas will I myself achieve supreme enlightenment. Because of this great vow, she was able to save her deceased mother from suffering and help all sentient beings that were enduring hell. As a result, she also became a great bodhisattva and will ultimately achieve enlightenment as the Buddha in the future. And for us, hearing all these stories, what we find out, the past life of Kṣitigarbha Bodhisattvas always make the same vow, always put himself or herself last to save all others first. So this is the great vows that make the Bodhisattva great. So for us to learn from Buddha and the Bodhisattva, we should also change our mindset. So don't think about self as number one. We think about others first. If we think about others first, we ourselves will also get the benefit. So we don't lose anything. Yeah. This is the way of the Bodhi mind. To help others first. If they are suffering or if they need help, quickly help them first. So this is the way. And I hope that this attitude will make you have a very good life and happy, and people surround you also happy. And how can I say, and enjoy their time in this lifetime. Yes. So we still have 2 minutes left. If you have any questions or anything to say, you can say so. 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, lilies, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
You made a comment about the possibility of being reborn as a woman was not going to be a good one.
yes. Yes. Because, in a lot of Buddhist sutras, it say being a woman is not so good. Why? You know why? Because we have our difficulties. We, as a female, we have difficulties compared with male. Because, we can't, we are not too strong to go out by ourselves in a dangerous position. And we, as a woman, we can get pregnant and have to give birth. And that is painful.
Well, we wouldn't have anybody in this world if we didn't give birth.
Yes, but the thing is, because you reborn in this world, yes. So it's good not to be reborn in this world. It's good to transcendental, transcends from this world, from the mundane world. Yes, but if we reborn in this world, it's actually better to be as a male form. So they have more merits than us. The world, to be honest. But we, as women, we can work harder. And, we are the same. It's not that it's not equal. No. It's just the past, what we did, our karma make us this form now.
So it's different.
But we can work hard, and we are sensitive with our minds, and we are very touching. And we know exactly what to do. And the male sometimes can't figure this out. They can't. Yeah. So anyway. Oh yeah.
Okay.
This is just general. No. Yeah. So well, good or not good, but anyway. Okay. So time is up. Is that all right now? Okay.